Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate the support, man. Hey, I shouldn't have left you without a dope, you know what I mean? And I shouldn't have left you without some dope content to step to, right? It's been a minute. I took a mini vacation. It's called a staycation. You know what I'm saying? I stayed up in some pussy and I was gone, right? But at the same time, I'm back, man, and there's a lot of news and a lot of things that have been happening since I've been gone. So let me reflect a little bit, give you my perspective, my 2 cents, what's going on. Bulldogs, right? They got indicted. They got state indictments going on. They got federal indictments going on. Almost 90 Bulldogs in the Fresno County area, Huron, Coalinga, all kinds of the little cities outside of the city of Fresno got targeted, right? And it's a wrap. It's a wrap for some. I mean, when you have 90 Bulldogs, alleged Fresno County Bulldogs, call them county dogs because that's what they are, right? Fresno County dogs and associates, not everyone's going to do all day. But 38 of the 90 individuals that were incarcerated are facing federal charges, and most of them center around the city of Coalinga, Huron, and, of course, state prisons throughout the state of California. Well, the facilities and the situations that they find themselves in, because we all know that Bulldogs have segregated yards, meaning they have their own yards. Okay, they've tried to mix them in general population with Northerners, with Southsiders, and it just goes down, man. Bulldogs are renegades. They do their own thing. They've been doing their own thing. They've established that for decades now, right? Bulldogs don't get their flowers enough. You know, I, for one, have done time with Bulldogs, been around Bulldogs, grew up with Bulldogs, right? So I can tell you guys straight up, I give them a lot of respect. I give them a lot of flowers because, you know, it's hard to survive in the middle of California surrounded by Norteños and Southsiders and still exist, okay, when those are your number one enemies, number 1A and 1B, and however you want to put it. I actually was going to do a video and still am that pertains to the Bulldogs when this shit popped up. So the Bulldogs get indicted, and this is something that, you know, that's a lot of law enforcement agencies work together in collaboration to, you know, end this, what they call a streak of terror and a streak of violence and a streak of drug business that's been going on. And it's just another stepping stone into another indictment of brown people. See you guys later, right? Unfortunately. Now, you hear about Norteño or, you know, Northern organization indictments all the time. Same thing with Southsiders, man. It's consistent. They 1 minute they're indicting Florencia gang, 1 minute they're indicting the Playboy gang, 1 minute they're indicting 38th Street. Next thing you know, they're going for a smaller gang. But it's consistent. It's always, and that's what I've said, man. If you're a gang member, you have to be of the understanding, especially if you're from a bigger gang, a bigger group, a bigger gaggle, right? You got to be of the understanding at all times that they're on you. They are on you, man. They're always watching, and it's only a matter of time. You could think you can live comfortable, think, oh man, I got this game sold up. I got it on lock. We're handling business, and tas. Here they come. Excuse me, what do you claim? You know where I claim, so we do. Boom, got you. Right? And you're like, fuck. This is what happened to the Bulldogs. It's their time to shine. You know, and you don't really hear about too many big things going like this down in Fresno. I mean, there are from time to time. It's not like they don't get their fair share of the pie. They get a bite. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended, dogs, but they get their little bite out of everything. And now it's them. And this is bigger than usual, bigger than normal. And what tripped me out about this was it wasn't really centered on the city of Fresno focused. It was more on the county dogs. So that goes to show you, man, it doesn't matter how big your gang is or how big your group is, they're watching. And there's definitely an indictment around the corner, man. You know, and an indictment or a investigation can start from something as unusual as just someone doing a petty crime. Someone getting caught up and then someone saying something because they can't go do 2-3 days. Man, oh, how much am I facing? Right? 4 days, eh? You know what I mean? That's all right. You know what I mean? Just go in the cell, get a roll of toilet paper, throw it up under your head, and sleep it off. Like break it down in hours. Oh, it's a little more than fucking 90 hours. Okay, let me tell you about this drug business that's being ran in this gun, right? The next thing you know, they know who makes all the ghost guns in Fresno. It's crazy, but it can start as simple as someone saying something or them stumbling upon something. Regardless of what it is, it's an indictment. Now, there's two things that trip me out about this whole operation. It's called Operation Shot Caller, right? Again, I've said in the past when I've spoken on these little names that the federal government or that these task force give. You had Operation Scrapbook in Atwater. We ain't gonna say what that was on, right? We had Operation Valley Star because it was focused on the valley. We had Operation fucking Told You Poop Butt, right? And now this one is Operation Shot Collar. Cold-blooded when you're talking about Bulldogs, huh? They put the shot collar on them, trying to shock them. That's fucked up. This tripped me out because I've never seen so many women indicted. And that goes to show you that they're focusing not only on the who's who of the who the fuck was doing the shit, but they're also focusing on the women that were assisting or enabling or facilitating drugs into facilities or whatever they feel that these women were doing. They were heavily involved. Now, usually when you see something that like a Norteño indictment or a Southsider indictment, you might see 3 or 4 women, that were those that were loyal, those that were trusted, those that were, part of the get down, and you usually never find out what happens to them. Have you ever noticed that? You want to know why? Can I give you the game why? Here's the why, right? The why is because they tell them, hey, your kids are going to get taken by CPS. This is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. The why is they tell you why the fuck everybody was doing what they were doing. That's why if you notice the indictments, you'll see 3 or 4 broads. It always happens, and then you don't see them anymore. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell everything. And the guys are going to take the heat for it, right? I'm not saying all women fold under pressure, but it does happen, right? It happens from time to time. So now in this situation, several women have been indicted along with the fellas. So either the Bulldogs got a lot of women involved in their gang organization or group or whatever they're doing, right? Or there's just a lot of women that were involving themselves or, associates. Now, the county dogs, Fresno Bulldogs, I've done time with, right? And the county dog movement, Coalinga, Huron, you got Clovis, you got Sanger, you got all these different little cities and towns that make up Fresno County that are involved with the Bulldog gang, right? And let me explain to you about we're going to break down the whole Bulldog thing right now so you guys get a better understanding. Those that don't really know who the Fresno Bulldogs are. Most people that watch me already know. We've done several videos throughout the history of Gunners Collective TV, 5 years straight, man. I've been fucking with it a little bit of everything. So we know about the dogs pretty good, right? But for those of you that are new, that don't, I'm going to break down the history, a little tiny bit of what Bulldogs are, who they are, and how they are different from Norteños and Southsiders, and just a few little intricacies and details into that. So, the county dogs have always tripped me out. How can one gang, one organization, I'll call them an organization and I'll explain to you why in a minute, but how can one group or organization be so powerful that even every city in your county is a part of it? See, it's a trip, right? You trip if you think about that really. Like Fresno County is a pretty big county. There's a lot of little towns. You got Fresno, and then, of course, you got all the little towns around it. How the hell did one group infuse or ingrain themselves in the fabric of every community, every barrio, every hood, and they all became Bulldogs? I'm going to explain to you. It's very simple. It's very simple. Fresno is a city that loves itself. They're very proud of their city. That's why you have Bulldogs that display the dogs all over them, dog paws, F-14. Well, it used to be F-14. Ain't F-14 no more, Pensa, right? Old school heads know what I'm talking about. But they got Bulldogs and Fresnal and Fresno and all that all over their bodies. They're very proud of their city. You know, their city is comprised of a lot. And now you got a little bit of everything. You got the Asian community, you got the black community. They've always been there. They've always had gangs. They've always rocked. They've always held it down. You know, ain't nobody in Fresno sleeping. Ain't nobody. Not the Asian. Asians will put you on your pockets. The brothers, man, they'll put something in the rocket, right? It's everybody. Even the white dude over there in Fresno is like, "What's up, brother? Fresno," right? Fresmaniacs. They're just doing their thing. Fresmaniacs is the Fresnex, right? They're doing their thing. But let's keep it real here. The Bulldog gang is the most dominant and deepest gang in Fresno. It's just what it is, right? And it's so big that it's actually spread its wings to all the county. And there was a point in time where, I mean, you have Bulldogs all throughout Northern California, not necessarily in Southern California. And yes, you won't see them in San Jose like that. You won't see them. But in the Central Valley, you will find a Bulldog in Madera. You can find a Bulldog in Tulare County dwelling in the lab 24/7. You know, it's not crazy to even see a Bulldog as far as Delano once in a while, right? They're just out there. Now, they're not gangbanging like that. They're not letting everyone know, but they're there. So the Bulldogs being once part of the Norteño movement, being Norteños, the Bulldogs was just a gang or a symbolization for the Fresno City College, you know, the state college. Fresno State College, the symbolization is Bulldogs. That's their what do you call it, the mascot. The Bulldogs adapted that to them. What's different about the Bulldogs where people don't understand, they're like, how are they so deep? How is there 10, 15,000 of them in Fresno County? I'll explain to you. The Bulldogs are just like Norteños or Southsiders. Okay, they're independent of both groups, having been a part of the Norteño movement and breaking away, not dropping out, but they're not defecting is a word that you could use, but they broke away. They started their own thing. Hey, we're going to start our own clica, a strong clica, right? And they did. And now we're doing so. They all centered around the Bulldog. They made it rather than a gang, than more to an organization, right? So like when you have a Norteño, you could have a Stockton Norteño, a Merced Norteño, a San Francisco Norteño, a Salas, a San Jose. I don't want to forget anyone because they get all mad at me in the DMs. Why you forget my city? Well, fuck, Abe. There's too many, right? Orale, Patterson Norteño, right? You could have all Modesto. You have all these different Norteños. But the key factor that brings them all together is they're Norteños. They claim Norte, right? They might be from different neighborhoods, different cities, different philosophies, different a whole bunch of stuff, but it all comes back to Norte. They're representing Northern California, the Norteño movement, the cause, right? Southsiders, same thing. You might have Florencia over here. You might have Dogtown. You might have Culver City. You might have Red Steps. You might have Pomona 12th Street Shark. Shout out to them. I fuck with them, man. I was in YA with them. They were vicious. You might have Bakers, the 805, Gruta, Santa Maria, you know what I mean? Of course, Chiques, Colonia, all that. You might have all that, but the thing that keeps them all united under the same umbrella is Sur. Well, it's the same thing with the Bulldogs, right? Bulldogs, you could have Coalinga, Huron, Selma, Sanger, you know what I'm saying? Orange Cove. You could have Fresno, East Side, Parkside, Chandler, North Side, all these different RTL Dogs, Bond, College Street, all these different gangs and clicas and barrios, but they're all united under the same bandera, which is Bulldogs. That's their organization. That's their group. So that's how that breakdown goes, right? The thing is, they've literally been holding it down in the Fresno County areas for decades, for so long. And every youngster that comes up, that's all he sees. So he's a product of his environment. If he's brown or hangs around with brown, right? He doesn't, there's options. There are some Norteños in west side of Fresno. They've been holding on like in Vogue. I think they're down to like 2 or 3 of them left, right? But they've been holding it down for fucking decades too. Shout out to West Fresno, right? Then, of course, you do got some Southsiders from Sanger and a couple from Fresno that be in the cuts, right? You got them. But the area, the geographical area is It's Dogtown, right? It's all dogs. Fresno Bulldogs. So when these youngsters see that, they automatically gravitate towards that. Now, there's different clicas depending on what part of the city you grew up in. And it's spread so much that it's when I remember when Sanger used to have Norteño Barrios, Barrio Chancla. That used to be all Northerners. You know, they switched up. They're Bulldogs. The Bulldogs gang and group has so big in the area and they hold it down that they will fucking take over other gangs and they're like a biker club. We're just going to pat you over, brother. Right? They'll just pat you over. You know what I'm saying? One day you could be a Latin king over there. Like, what's up, bro? What's up, folks? Right? Whatever you are. Latin Kings, right? Next day, you know, you're like Bulldog Kings. Like, what happened? Like, we just patched over. That's how big and that's how dangerous that group is, that they kind of just take Varus over. In that area, it all is surrounding the Fresno County area. Anything outside of there, you know, they're not even tripping on. That's why people are like, oh, just stay in Fresno. You guys can't go anywhere else. They don't want to go anywhere else. Why would they? They have their city on lock, pretty much. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go into Fresno and get you a good fucking chili dog or something if that's what you're into, right? Doesn't mean you can't go get a good fucking kawama or a good old fucking chela. But I would advise against it, especially on the east side. They ain't playing, right? They're fucking, once you hear barking, you're done. Now, I'm not surprised they focused this investigation on the county dogs, because you always hear about just Fresno, the city of Fresno putting in all the work, the city of Fresno. In fact, in the 90s, there was literally a task force created to combat the Bulldogs. There was, I mean, it's crazy. Like, you have gang task force that are, like Immer said, we have a gang task force, right? There's probably, it's small, probably about 6 heads, 7 heads, cops that roam around, and everyone's like, hey, look, it's the task. And yeah, everyone knows who they are. They'd be like, hey, what do you, they think they're all fucking Pac. Fuck you, Pac-Man, right? They think they're Hodges and Pac-Man. What are you guys doing out here? Selling dope? What do you think we're doing? You know what I mean? Like, hey, what are you guys doing out here? What are those? Dayton's? Oh, I bet you bought them with drug money. Nah, I bought them my old lady's welfare money. You know what I'm saying? I just gave her drug money to pay the rent, and then I used her welfare money. See, I know how to launder, right? You know what I mean? Hey, they were small, though, and they were focused on not just the Norteños, but they were focused on the Crips and the Bloods and the Norte Thugs and then the Asians and the Woods, brother, and whoever else was there. That's what the task force was focused on. It's just they fucked more with the Northerners, it seemed like. That's what we'll say. The brothers will tell you different, right? Everyone will say, man, the task. They're honest. Task Force Tuesdays. But Fresno is the only city, and believe me, and I know that it probably happens in Southern California because it's bigger, but Fresno's the only city that I heard of where they literally created a task force just for that group, that gang, right? Just to combat the Bulldogs. Now, I'm sure the Magic, which they were called Magic, right? I'm sure they did go after other gangs in the Fresno area, but they were built around Bulldogs. Their intentions was to eradicate the Bulldogs. And we're talking about a well-equipped task force, not just 5-10 guys, like over 50 to 100 cops out there every day trying to bust Bulldogs, take them off the map, lock them up, and still couldn't do it. Them boys are deep out there, right? Them dogs are deep. So now I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, that the focus is on the county dogs. And, you know, it's pretty serious. You have almost, 90 dogs and associates. And out of those dogs and associates, they're probably targeting just a few dudes. That's how they do it. You know, when they're doing indictments, what they'll do is they'll wrap everybody up because they're going to get all these different stories. People are going to tell. I don't care if you're a Bulldog, you get on here and you're like, oh, my dog's going to stay strong. No, they're not. Somebody's going to tell, bro. It's just, they already told to get you there to this point. Someone's going to tell. It's no big deal. Shit, just take it. You take it how you give it. You want it, they got it. Dripping like water. You want it, they got it. They're putting shock collars. Bzz, right? They shocked you. Right? But it's just the Bulldogs' turn to get the shock collar. And it's not even a big issue, but it is a big issue for those that were involving themselves in the shenanigans and the crime, because they are focused on just a few individuals. And I think the individuals that they're really focused on are these 38 that they federally indicted. That means they're going to be going to federal prison when convicted. The other people will get state charges, a slap on the wrist, depending upon the nature of the crimes you were involved in. And the crimes here range from everything from drugs, smuggling, to murder, right? Or attempted. And what it seemed like they were really focused on, this was an indictment inside of an indictment, right? Where they gathered the gaggle of group of dogs, everybody that they can get that they felt was associated with this. And then their focus was really on the underlying issue of this drug smuggling operation that was going on. And that's what they federally indicted and charged 38 people on. And it was like half the fucking group were girls. So what they're basically trying to say is not only were they spreading drugs into the communities, that they were bringing them into the prison. They tried to shut down the prison operation is what they did. That's what the main focus was, right? And you know what? You know, there was an incident that took place with the Norteño, right? From my city, from my neighborhood. Everyone by now has probably seen the removal that happened it was in Salinas Valley. It was pretty graphic, pretty horrific. I happened to lay my eyes on it. It was sent to me, right? And that's the one where he got the knife pushed into his skull, and it was pretty pretty bad, man. It was overkill. That's how I felt, right? But you know, hey, motherfuckers are laying demos down. That's just how it is. But I thought it was overkill. And the reasoning behind it, you know, that people are saying because he was facilitating or he helped Bulldogs enter contraband into the facility. And you, as a Norteño, I know that's a no-no. You can't fraternize or do that. Now, here's my thing. It's crazy because if North and South are doing business on a business tip, it's cool. You know, I've done business when I was in prison with whites. I've done business with blacks. I've done business with Southsiders, you know. But you got to make your people aware, hey, Holmes, this is beneficial for us. I got this position, say in the visiting room or whatever. I could do whatever, however it's being done, right? And as long as you let your people know it's beneficial, it's gonna help the casa. And if they say it's a go, it's a go. If they say no, it's no. But you can't do it on the unders. You do it on the unders. What else are you doing on the unders, right? Anyways, allegedly, people are saying that whole removal was behind that, right? And it involved Bulldogs or whatever. I don't know that to be true at all. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying this was the word. But it's crazy how immediately after that, not even months later, we have this indictment. And the sole focus of this indictment is not only the community and getting Bulldogs up out the way, but more so on this drug smuggling that they consider was going on in Salinas Valley Prison. That kind of was like the thing that it seemed like sparked it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just putting two and two together and trying to make faux Norte gang, right? Or maybe I'm just good at what I do, man. And I understand that usually all situations are tied or infused together at some point. Anyways, with that being said, man, a whole bunch of Bulldogs got caught up. I am back, man. More power to them and more power to their families. You know, you can't expect, you know, you see all these people marching and, hey, man, fight for our people to stay here. And you got our young communities, our young groups, this new era, fucking theirs off. You know, now, don't get it twisted. If you look into this indictment, these 38 people that were federally indicted, these Bulldogs, they all range from age 60 to about 40. So they were really old school. They were really old school. It just shows you how organized these gangs and groups are, and you didn't even know. You know, when I think Bulldogs now, back in the days, I thought Bulldogs, big F-14s, dog paws everywhere, like, what's up, dog, right? Now I'm like, I see them, they're like AR-15s in the pants, fucking punches, pilot haircuts, like, what's up, dog? Before, you know, before it was like, ooh, ooh. I was like, anyways, don't sleep on them Bulldogs, man. And the feds didn't. They caught them up just like anyone else. They got their piece of the pie. See, hey, I've heard a lot of Bulldogs. Hey, we're just like North and South, man. We hold our own. Well, okay, well, hold your own indictment. There you go. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. And that's the betterment of all people. I wish this never happened, but it did. And now they got to deal with it, unfortunately.